All right, we got some feet and some hands, or I guess they're all feet if you're talking about a mouse. But I got them all finished up and waxed up, and I think they are good to go. So I decided on these two for the hands, so they'll go on like that, and then these two for the feet. We'll attach those a little bit later. So what we're going to do first is we're going to figure out how to get the hands on here. So I am just kind of getting an idea of how far out I want them to go. They're going to be curved a little bit because we're going to make a little ornament for him to hold on to. And I'm not going to poke the wires into the body. I'm just going to felt them on, so I can cut the wires a little bit shorter than what's needed, because we'll bring the wool out from the arms a little bit more. So I think I want to go here, so I'm going to, assuming my wire cutters will cut these, I'm going to trim this off. Yep. Got one more there. And then I'll trim the other one the same size. Need to get myself some better wire cutters here eventually. Not too concerned about that extra wool there. Okay, now we're going to cover these with our top coat. So I'm just gonna take some bits of wool here. I'm going to actually pre-felt them a little bit. I want the direction of the wool to run in this direction, so I don't want to wrap it around the arm. The other wool that I used didn't have like all the variegated colors in it, so I could just wrap it. But since this one is, you can kind of see the fibers, the direction the fibers are going in, I want to put it on so it's going up and down the arm. So just to make it go on a little bit easier, I guess I should mute my phone here. If I can get into it. All right. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of these, and I'm just going to kind of bend over the top a little bit and then wrap it around this way. And I only want like the tip of the hand to really show. Yep, the other needle. And then I'm just going to attach this. I'll start up here around the hand so I can get it fairly firm. Just remember you have a wire in there, so as you're poking, be aware of that. I like to poke along the side of the wire, but sometimes my needle does get caught in there. Just be real gentle as you're going around, especially with the wire that's kind of wrapped around it. Sometimes, especially the really fine needle, will get stuck in between the wires. And if you just turn your needle a little bit, like see here, so if I just turn my needle a little bit, it'll come undone. But as long as you're not stabbing, see, there we go again. As long as you're not stabbing really hard, you should be all right. really light, shallow stabs. Okay, I'm leaving this up here fluffy so we can attach it to the body. I might go over that again. We'll see once I get it on the body if I need to cover it a little bit more, if I think it's too skinny. You could make his arms all pink, I suppose. Or you could go white, or you could go peach. I thought about doing a peachy color, but the picture I was going with had pink, so. I don't really care if this here around his hand is like really clean. It can be kind of, you know, fibers can be kind of hanging out a little bit. That's okay. Alright, I think I might need to bulk them up a little bit, but let's take a look here. Yeah, we'll add a little bit more onto those. So I'm just going to kind of thicken them up a little bit. So I might just fold it in half. Let's see if that'll cover. Yeah, that might be a little too thick, so we'll just fold over the bottom part of it. And I'm gonna center this on the top of the arm and then wrap it down. I gotta watch my time here. The day I'm filming this is Saturday, and Saturday is always pizza night here, so I gotta start dinner in about 45 minutes or so. So I'm not too concerned about how thick the back of the arm is, because when I actually attach it, we'll kind of build it up a little bit. Give him like a little shoulder. You could, I've seen where they've taken like, the arm has been like one big piece of wire, and then they wrap it around the back of the animal. So you could do that as well. I just preferred to do this way. At first I thought about sticking the wires into the body, but then I decided that that wasn't really needed, and by having enough fluff on the back you can attach it well enough to the side of the body. The legs are really easy because all we have to do is just trim the wire and attach them to the bottom. Don't have to cover them at all because we'll just go over the wires with the brown. Okay, I think that's good. All right, so make sure I get I'm gonna put my thumbs on the top, and I'm going to just lightly attach in the back here until I get them both on, so I make sure that I have them where I want them to be. They need to be close enough to hold our little ornament. So I think that'll work. All right, so I'm going to tighten this down. The nice thing about the wires, you can bend it to get it where you want it to be. Normally, in most of my creatures, I don't do wired arms, but in this case, I thought it would, well, it'd be easier because I don't normally like do detailed fingers like this, so it'll help with that. Plus, it would help to hold on to the ornament. I'm going to glue the ornament in so it doesn't come out anyway, but it'll just help. Okay, so I can still, I kind of like to bend his arm a little bit. I don't want it to be like straight. So I think that'll work. All right, so now I'm gonna really get this in here good so it will hold. And then we'll add some shoulders. Remember to be careful as you're stabbing because that wire's there. So his arms are a little kind of weird at the moment, but we're gonna fix that. So I'm gonna just kind of make a little pillow here, and I'm gonna put it over where the shoulder would be. Don't worry about the weird look here. We'll fill that all in, so it'll be not looking like he's got these huge shoulder muscles. Add a little bit more. Actually, not quite that much. Gonna bring it down a little bit to fill in that gap. I'm just gonna bring some wool right across that. Smooth it out. All right, one side. Do the same on the other side. Make sure that I don't bring it back too far. So just kind of compare it to the other side. Okay, needs a little bit more. Make sure that I can still hold the ball. this one's gotta kind of come out a little bit here. Looks like his elbow is way down here. Let's see if I can kind of bend this out a little bit more. I think I need to add a little bit more here in the arm. Not quite that much. Just right here where his elbow would be. Make it look like it's got more of a bend to it. Okay. All right, it's not too bad. You can see him. Okay, now let's do his feet here. So what I'm going to do is his feet are going to just kind of hold on like that. I want to make sure I get the right side of the feet. Yep, okay. So the feet are just going to go and kind of stick out like that from the bottom. So we don't need much here on the base. So I am going to actually going to use my scissors to cut this because I'm going to cut through some of this wool. These are not my good scissors. All right, and then make sure I get them the right way here. Let's see. Just looking at which way I want showing. All right, so I think I want this to be the top of this foot. So what I'm going to do is, to start with, I'm going to just kind of poke in around that wire to hold it and make sure I get them where I want them to be. I think I need to go back a little bit. I want the toes to just be poking out. And I want them to be flat, but I can kind of do that with the wire that's in them. This one is still up a little bit more. This also helps them stand too. All right, I think that's pretty good. So now I'm going to take some wool and I'm going to go across the bottom. Let me just kind of poke the back end of this in a little bit here. Oops. All right, I'm going to take this and run it across the bottom of the foot. Go up the center first. I'm not too concerned about how much is covered on the foot because you're not going to see it. Just remember you got the wires in there, so as you're poking over the foot, be careful. Gonna have to add some more over that other one. Attach it to the foot the best you can. You might have to, instead of going straight in and out, go at an angle. If you can tell how I'm going at a 45-degree angle to kind of attach it to the foot with the wire there. I have to add some more on this one. And then just spend a few minutes getting it all nice and smoothed out. If you need to, you can add a little bit of wool in the center there to kind of even things out a little bit. So just take a little bit of, whoops, come back here. Take a little bit of wool and kind of stick it in between his feet there. You could always poke the feet, make the wires longer and poke them up into the bottom, but I figured this will hold up well enough. And the nice thing about doing it this way is you don't have to worry about like making legs or thighs or anything like that. They're just kind of sticking out from underneath his bottom. Alright, now that I have his feet attached, I'm just going to take my multi-tool and get the rest of this extra felted in. See if he stands up. He does. Okay. So there we got his little feet on here. I'm gonna just kind of manipulate the toes a little bit. Okay. All right. Now let's make his tail. I can find my wire. I had wire pre-cut here, I thought. Let's see. All right. Yep. I guess we'll go with this one since I don't know where my wire went to. Okay. So we're going to decide how long we want his tail to be. So I'm just going to kind of bring it around here to the front a little bit. I'm going to leave a little bit of an overhang so I can stick it in the back. Probably right to there. So let me cut this and then I'll tell you how long it is. But you can make your tail however long you want. So this is just about 3 inches, a little over 3 inches. All right, so we're going to do a brown tail, the same color. You could make your tail pink. And I'm going to draft out some of this brown like we did for the hands. Only I want a bit more this time. And I'm using fabric coated wire for this. You don't have to. And I want to say it's probably an 18 or a 20 gauge. I'm not sure. But you could use a regular wire as well. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start here at the top. Just down a little bit. And I'm going to take this and I'm going to fold it over and squish it down. And then go around it. Just so you don't have the pointy end there. And I'm going to hold it tight, hold it flat, and just turn my wire and bring it down. I'm going to try and keep it the same thickness, so if I have like an area that's a little bit thinner, I might wrap it twice before I go down. And I'm going to stop before I get to the very end. Alright, so I'm going to stop there and I'm going to pull the rest of this off. And I'm just going to wrap it and spin it as I get the rest of it attached there. And that should hold pretty well. You can kind of run it in your fingers here, your hands a little bit to help felt it, but it's pretty secure. I don't think that's going anywhere. If you feel like you need to tack it in, you can. But this is going to go into the back side. So we're not too. It's going to go in like this. I'm not going to do that yet, though. I'm going to do that later. But the tail is made. Let's make our little ball Christmas ornament for him to hold. And I am going to use some of this Angelina Apple Red. This is from Nice Stock Farms. Angelina is man-made fiber. It's not a natural fiber. And you have to add it to wool. You can't use it by itself because it will not felt. So I'm just going to pull just a little bit out here and you will end up with it everywhere. And I'm going to kind of break it up a little bit so it's not in like really long pieces. And then I have a bit of red here. I'm going to mix it in with the wool. And this will just give it a little sparkle. You can add as much or as little as you want. This might be a little too much, but let's see how it goes. between this stuff and yesterday I was sorting through some ribbon, and I picked up some Christmas ribbon at a garage sale, and I was wrapping it onto a piece of cardboard, and I ended up with glitter everywhere. All right, so I'm not sure if you can see the sparkle in there or not. And I'm going to pull some of this off because I don't know if I want it. Well, actually it might not be too bad. All right, so we are going to start to roll this into a ball as tight as I can. And taking my 38 needle, I'm going to start to work this into a ball. So I'm just kind of felting it into the mat a little bit just to kind of help hold it in place as I turn it. Just to kind of secure it. And then you might want to use your finger guards here. You can take another needle and hold it. I'm going to work this for a few minutes with the needles, and then I'm going to roll it in my hands to help it. So you're going to have a lot of this Angelina fiber kind of sticking out everywhere. I just take that a pair of scissors and just trim it when I get done, because it doesn't all felt down into the wool. And you don't have to have the Angelina. Just kind of adds a little bit of a shine to it. Could use white with it too, if you have a white Angelina. I just thought doing the red with the red would be a little bit better. I haven't used the Angelina fibers too much. Okay. Alright, so I'm going to roll it in my hand here. I'm going to go over with my 40 needle. Okay, and then if you have any long fibers, just kind of give them a trim. Not too many. They kind of pop up randomly. I'll have to clean off my mat here when I get done. Usually I just trim it over the garbage can. All right, so there we have our little ball, and that will go into his hands like so. If I can get him in there, kind of bend his hands out a little bit here. Something like that. We'll once we actually attach it, we'll kind of manipulate the hands and I have you a little bit more. I might need to make it a little bit bigger, but so it'll be something like that. All right, so next we are going to work on the hat, and he's getting close to being done. So we'll get ready to get his hat going here. All right, now we got his little ball made here. We're going to give him a hat and some ears. And I'm going to do the ears over the hat. So we'll do the hat first. I feel like his fingers on this hand are a lot bigger than they are on this hand. That's all right. So I have here a red bat. I want to say this might be MC1 from Living Felt, but I'm not 100% on that. It feels like it's a merino, so I'm thinking that might be. So what I'm going to do is get rid of some of this extra here. I want to make a triangle shape, so I don't want to have a whole ton of extra on here. So I'm just going to, since I kind of have it going here, try and pull some of this extra off just to get that shape. And I need to make sure, sorry, I'm a little congested this morning. I want to make sure that it's going to fit around his head. So that's big enough, so we're good there. And then I'm going to grab my brush here. This just kind of, you don't need to use this. It just kind of helps the, when you're doing a flat piece, I like it. So I'm going to fold over one side here and use my multi-tool to just start to felt it a little bit. I'm going to fold over this side. I want to make sure I keep my length, but this can go, we'll get this a little bit closer together. I think I have too much here. See if I can take a little bit more off. I don't want to build up, goodness, I don't want to build up a lot on the side here. Actually, you know what? I'm going to leave that because I'll show you why. I'm going to go to put it together. So let's just leave that fluffy and just kind of work this down a little bit. I'm going to gently pull it off my brush and flip it over. The more you can get it done on the brush, the less you'll have to do on the mat. And actually, I think I'm gonna throw down an old piece of felt since this is red. I'm gonna keep this clean for my class later today, so I'm just gonna throw down this for the moment. And I'm gonna take my 240 spiral needles and just kind of go over this a couple times to get it fairly felted. Sure, I'm in the camera here. I'm really kind of mad at myself because I just realized filming this section that I never changed the size of my screen. So I'm sorry that you have just a little square to look at. I'm so used to taking pictures in 1x1 mode that I totally forgot to change my video over. Let's flip it over and do the other side here. Okay, now I want to make sure that I'm still good size-wise here. Yep, we're good. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold this up a little bit. This is going to get covered up by the white around the brim of the hat, so you're not really going to see this. but just to kind of clean up the edge a little bit here, make it a little bit easier. All right, now I'm going to wrap this around his head. So you can see I have quite a bit of extra here, and that's okay. So I'm gonna bring this around so I can see how much I actually need. And I want to get this to a point here. So if I kind of wrap this like so, and we're gonna attach it right to his head. So I think I can pull a little bit more of this off. So just doing little bits because I don't want to take too much off. I want to get it kind of pointed at the top there, so I think that'll work. All right, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to start, I want to make sure that I have it in a cone shape. I'm going to start by attaching up here at the top. And I want to get it pointed, so I'm going to kind of turn it. Switch to my 40 spiral needle here. So I'm just going to tack it in a little bit and keep turning it so I can get that kind of pointed top. We'll add a little ball in the top here when we're done. And I'm going to start now as I'm tapping to not go, try not to go into the mat. I want to try and keep it in the wool itself. Up here it's kind of hard not to, but going down I want to keep it. I think I might need, see if I have it here. So what I'm going to do here now is I'm just very lightly taking that loose wool and just tacking it into the layer underneath. And I'm not going really far because I don't want to close it off. I want to keep it open underneath so it's, you know, we got a little hole there. So I'm just tapping it into the layer, the bottom layer. I'm not too concerned about this stuff here because again the white will cover that up and we'll fix it up a little bit. So I'm just going to kind of turn it as I go along here. And I'm mostly concerned with this fluffy part that we just rolled over the other part. And by leaving this fluffy, it'll help this to all blend in. You might need to add a few little pieces here and there to kind of cover it up, but this will all be in the back of the hat anyway, so. If you happen to go through, just kind of stick your finger in there and pull it apart a little bit. But if you go just really gentle, I mean, I'm only going in like maybe 1/4 of an inch. I'm keeping it really light. I just want all this to kind of blend right in so it looks like it's a seamless hat. You can kind of see where the seam is there, but if I wanted to take some of these little pieces that I pulled off, I can just kind of wisp them out a little bit and place over that, and that'll kind of hide that seam. Again, only go in just enough to go through the 2 layers, don't go all the way down to the bottom. You could do a solid hat, make a cone, but I find it's just easier because I like to flop the top over, and it's just, I find it's easier. You could also do it on a wire, and then you could bend the wire over if you find that's easier. Just wrap a hat shape onto your wire. I just like the look of it actually looking like a real hat. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of go around it once here. Just kind of felt it down a little bit more. Again, being careful that you don't go down to the bottom layer of the hat. Up here at the top, it doesn't really matter quite so much. And I'm not too worried about the very bottom of it, since we'll be attaching it to the head down there and adding the white fluff. When you're first doing this, a lot of times I tend not to take enough wool, so it ends up having some thin spots. So when you're first doing it, try and make sure that you have a good amount of wool. Okay, I think that's pretty good. All right, let me move that off out of the way. And let's get our little mouse here. It's going to have a nice big hat. And I'm going to kind of just pull this on, making sure the seam is in the back. Pull it on over his head. And I'm going to start to tack it down. If you wanted to, if you thought this was too long, you could either roll this up a little bit more or trim it off a little bit. But I think this will work. And so I'm just gonna, it's probably a little bit too much here in the back, but we'll make it work. I need to add a little bit of wool there around his neck. It's got some white showing there, so I'll probably go back and touch that up. And I'm just going to go right up his head and attach this. Since all this is going to get covered by the white. Kind of even it out a little bit. Okay, so his head's gonna, maybe we'll have this one go this way. Last one I did, I had it going over this way, so make this one go this way. But we're not gonna do that yet. So now that I have this well attached to his head, we're gonna get some white, And this white I got from Lion Gate Farm, and sometimes it has a bit of vegetative matter in it, so I like to kind of go through it and make sure I got it all out. And yep, I missed it. There we go. All right, so I'm going to pull this in half because it's wider than what we need. And now you could make a band beforehand, so you can set it on your mat here and start it out, or you can do it right on the head. If you don't have one of these clover tools, just use your regular needle. You can use 2 needles. Okay, just enough to kind of hold it together. Then what I'm going to do is get the strings out there. So I'm going to fold up one side and just kind of tack it down. I'm not too concerned about it being totally smoothed down because we can do that well when it's right on the mouse. And I'm just going to make sure that this will fit all the way around. It does. Okay. So now I'm going to figure out how wide do I want the brim to be. And I don't want it to be too wide, so I think that's pretty good. So I'm just going to fold over the other side enough to kind of make sure it's kind of even here. And give it a tack down. Alright, so that's my underside. This is my top side. And then I'm gonna make the seam in the back where it's gonna connect in the back. So I'm gonna put the middle here in the front. Let's see if I can do this. And I want it to go over the red, so I want to make sure I bring it down below the red a little bit. And I'm going to start to tack it on along the base. Okay, and I'm going to bring this around back here. I got a bunch of extra fluff here that I'm just going to pull off because I don't need that. Let's see if we can get this side here. It's a little thin down in here, but I think it'll be alright once we get it going. And I can add a little bit more if I need to. I'm just going to overlap that. And then what I like to do is just to go right up along the edge of that. So I'm kind of like poking it into the hat more so than the mouse. All right, so now we'll do the top part. And I'm going to just kind of tuck it in. To give it a more finished look. We'll tack that down a little bit more so it's not quite so puffy. Just go right around. so I have it pretty well attached. So now I'm going to, I don't want this to get like really, really flat because I would like it to, you know, kind of look like it's the brim of a Santa hat. So I'm going to go around it, but not get it super felted. But I don't want it this fluffy either, so I'm going to kind of pull this down a little bit to cover the red that's showing down here. I might need to add, it's a little thin right there, so I might add just a little bit of wool here. And just keep working this until it's the way you want it to look. So I'm just going to get a little bit more white here. I don't want a lot, I just want enough to kind of cover this red back here. So it's a little bit wider than the other side, so I'm just going to kind of tack this down a little bit more. But if we bring that over, it won't be quite so noticeable, so I think we'll be good. All right, got some loose fibers here that if I just take a little bit more time, I'll get rid of those. All right, now let's see, let's do the ears next. So I have the pink that I used for the hands here, and I'm going to get two pieces that are fairly the same thickness and size. I actually think this might be a little too big. Let's see if I break this in half. This will be better. Need a little bit more in that one. See if I can just maybe pare this one down a little bit to be about the same. I think that's better. Okay, so these are, let me see if I can get a measurement for you. Like 2 by 1. The one would be like there, so you got that fluffy part there. Might need to, I don't know, I don't think I like that piece. Let me get another piece here. All right, I think that's better. So I'm kind of looking for like an ear shape. And this is a little bit bigger, but I think it's a little bit thinner too. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, you could make yourself a pattern of an ear. Let me get up a sticky note here. So if you took a, whoops, I need to, sorry about that, move that out of the way. You just kind of figure out what size ear your mouse needs. I'm just going to draw this. Don't need the red. And I think that might work. So if you just kind of draw, I'm going to cut it out a little bit larger and just make a little ear shape. I don't always do this, but when if you're first starting out, this might help you. I'm just going to cut this off here. Okay, so you're going to take your wool and put your little ear shape over it. So you can see this is probably a little bit bigger than what we need for that ear. So I'm just going to pull a little bit more off of it. And then I'm going to take my 38 needle and I'm just going to kind of trace around it with my needle so I can see the shape. So I'm not sure how well you can see that on the camera. And then I'm just going to kind of felt that down. And I'll do the same on this side. I always like to work both when I have two things, to work them both at the same time so I can get them the same size. So I'm going to do this one on this side. So I'm just going to flip it over, I think. And again, if you need a pin to hold it in, you could stick a pin in there. So enough so I can see the shape and tack it down. Okay, then we're going to very carefully, because you've got this secured into your mat, just going to very carefully pull that extra wool over and down over your ear and then tack it in. You leave the side fluffy because that's how, well, we're not going to actually use the fluff to attach it because of the brim of the hat already being on, but you could always cover it up if it's easier for you to attach. Right, this one has a little bit more, so I'm just going to pull a little extra of the fluff off so it's not really big. And do the same with this side. I like to do the two sides first and then bring the top down. Okay, so now I'm going to very carefully pull it off my mat. Just kind of compare them to see if they're pretty close. They're pretty close. So now I'm going to felt this down some more using my 40 spiral. I'm just going to kind of go back and forth on both sides. Excuse me. Do the other one. Okay, now I'm going to get my finger guards. And first let's just check. Oh yeah, I think that'll be good. Alright, so I'm going to take my finger guards and I'm going to kind of shape them a little bit because right now they're not very rounded. So I'm going to take my 40 spiral needle and I'm going to just go right around the outer edge. And this will clean up the outside edge. And just kind of round them a little bit more. They were a little kind of blocky. So I just kind of focus on those corners there and push them in, it'll round it out a little bit more. You see that? All right, I'm gonna do the same with this one. And this corner here is gonna focus a little bit more on pushing that in. You don't want to go too hard because you don't want to make them too small. All right, and I like to compare the two of them and see how they're matching up. Okay, I think those are pretty good. So I'm just going to take another minute and just felt this down a bit more. If I see any like edges here that I don't like, I can tack them in. All right, I'm going to pull off as much of this extra as I can. And figure out where his ears here are going to go and how I want them to go. I didn't want to cut them off yet because I want to figure out how much. Nope, he's got a little Angelica there. So at this point you can take a couple straight pins and stick them on to figure out where you want the ears to go. To make sure that you have them about the same spot. And we're gonna turn them in a little bit like so when we attach them. All right, so I think I'll bring this one forward a little bit. Okay, I think that's good. All right, so now since I have a bunch of the extra fluff here, you can go ahead and attach it like this and then just add some more white over that, which actually maybe I might do for this. So I'm curving, I'm not sure if you can see it very well, but I'm bringing it right to the bottom of the hat. And I'm going to do the same on the top here. And I want this all to go onto the white and not to the red or the mouse's head. So, well, and then I'm going to start to attach it along the base here. And I want it to kind of go back like a V, so it kind of looks like it's kind of puckered a little bit. So I'm going to work it, kind of pinching it a little bit and then working it back like a V shape, so you can see how it goes back a little bit. And I don't want it to hang out underneath the hat too much, so I'm going to poke that in. And just work it along the base. Trying to bring that extra pink up onto the white so we can cover it. Okay, so I think it's not quite as rounded as I like. So I'm gonna just kind of push this down a little bit. And we'll do a final adjustment with this once we get the other one attached here. I'm gonna actually move it down a little bit. So same thing, attach it right along the white part of the hat. I'll take the pin out, and then I want to just kind of pinch it a little bit and attach it like in a V. Excuse me. Time of year. Let's see. Oh, cute. This one is still a little bigger than I think I want it to be. You can kind of go from the inside here if you want to get that shape a little bit more. I almost feel like this ear is back too far. I think it is. So the nice thing about it is you can pull it off and reposition it if you don't like where it is. Not sure if I pulled it up enough here. It's harder for me to work on this side for some reason. I have the same problem when I do eyes, whenever I work on this side. Alright, I think that's a little bit better. So I'm gonna just poke in the top of the ear along the brim of the hat here. Okay, see that? Now we'll just get a little bit of our white and just cover up that pink part from his ear. You could always like just cut the base of the ear instead of leaving it fluffy and attach it. A little bit more showing there. Goodness. It never fails. The day that I have to do videos, I start with the nose strip, which causes me to cough. Okay, just kind of manipulate them with your fingers to get them how you want them to be. I feel like they're too far back, but I think they'll be all right. All right, so now we just need to make a little ball for his hat. So I'm gonna take some white and we're just gonna kind of roll it up into a ball here, depending on how big you want it to be. Just be careful your fingers here. I like to get it started and then I just kind of roll it around on my mat here a little bit. You can take another needle and just hold it in place while you roll it around. Got a little something in there. We can make this as felted or as loose as you want. And then once you kind of have it pretty well secured, get off there, you can roll it in your hand. And then just do any more touch-ups if you need to. If you want to make it bigger, you can add a little bit more wool. Alright, then to attach it, we're gonna, this is a little fiddly here, gonna stick it on the end of our hat, and I'm gonna poke the red right into the ball here. Gonna turn it around. And you can just kind of work your hat a little bit more here. Alright, just enough to kind of hold it. And then what I like to do is fold it over. Now you could keep it straight up if you wanted to. That looks kind of cute. I like to fold mine over. And so what I like to do is see how there's like natural lines that form there from folding it over. If you just kind of stab in those lines, it'll kind of make it look a little bit more natural. And then I like to go right along here and kind of attach it into the hat so it'll hold in place. Can accentuate the lines that form automatically. I don't want his ear to be too squished, so I'm going to push his ear out and kind of get that tacked down back there. And you can add additional lines. You can kind of, if you find it's too fluffy, you can kind of push it in a little bit. Like that. My parakeet's being a little noisy this morning. All right, find his ball. So then I will glue a little Christmas ball to his hands. I'm gonna kind of clean this up a little bit. I got some stray fibers here, but if you take his hands, figure out how you want him to hold your Christmas ball, and then just add a little bit of glue to the fingers to hold it in place. Well, I totally forgot to give him some whiskers, so I thought I would pop on and show you what I'm going to use. I bought this at Hobby Lobby. As you can see, it's 0.005 inches or 0.12 millimeters black. I also have white, but we're going to use black for this one. I have found a problem with cutting the string, though. It doesn't like to cut very well. So I need to, even using my fabric scissors, I find that it kind of pulls the coating on whatever it is. So anyway, I'm going to show you, if I can get some off of here. I like to pull off a pretty big strand here. And this is nice because it just rolls. You pull it and this thing moves. So this is kind of neat. Let me see. I think I'm going to have to go find my fabric scissors. Oh, that cut pretty good. I think maybe I just need to cut it on a certain spot. So what I like to do is I like to take a long needle, and I just have a long dowel needle here that I'm gonna attempt to thread. And then depending on how many whiskers you want, I'd like at least 3, 5, you could do more. And so what I like to do is just run the needle across. I did glue his ball down here. And then pull the thread through as far as you want. I'm going to move these needles out of the way so it doesn't get caught. A little bit longer than you think you want your whiskers to be. And then I'm going to go this way and go through again. And I'm trying to get them so they're like about in the same general location. It really doesn't matter. So hopefully I can do this without dislodging his Christmas ball here. And I'm just going to pull it through again to a little bit longer than what I think I want the whiskers to be. And we're just going to go back and forth like that a few times. Just be careful you don't pull it all the way through. And if you need to thread some more, you can. Let's see if we can go a couple more times here. it off. So that should give us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I got 5 on each side. So then what I'll do is I will trim these loops here, assuming it will cut. There we go. I don't know if you can see that what it does sometimes, it just kind of catches. Alright, so now I have them all cut. They're not by any means at the length that I want them to be, but what I want to do first is make sure that I don't have any that are too short. And then what I'd like to do is I take my art glitter glue here, and I like to put a little, now this dries clear, which is why I use it. So I like to put a little drop at the base of each of those whiskers on both sides. And that will help to hold them in place. And then I don't give them a final trim until those are dry. Get them all. And I got a piece of wool here that's in the way. Alright, so it looks kind of messy right now, but it does dry clear, and so you won't be able to see that glue once it dries. And I like these little applicator bottles. You can buy them off of Amazon. I'll drop a link down below that I just pour the I'll link both the glue and these bottles. It just helps with application with really small stuff, and I like that it dries clear. So then once this dries, I will just take and trim up the whiskers to the length that I want them to be. So we end up with something, oh, his whiskers need a little poofing out here. Something like this. I think they're a little bit too short. I think I'll cut the other ones a little bit longer. But so there we go. So there's your little mouse. Thank you for watching. I think I need to touch up the glue on this one a little bit. But I hope you make one and pop on over to my Facebook page and show me when you do. I'd love to see it. Everybody's creations end up being a little bit different, and I love seeing the changes that you make on yours. So, but anyway, thanks for watching, and hopefully we will see you not in 3 months, but sooner than that. Oh, you know what? I just remembered. We forgot to put his tail on. The poor little guy. He doesn't have a tail. Goodness, I'm not doing very good here. All right. Quick on the tail. So I'm just going to cut with my scissors a little bit of a hole here in this bottom end. And then make sure his tail fits in there. Like so. And I'll curve his tail once we're getting in there. But then I'm just going to take some of my glue again here. And glue that on. Stick his tail in. And then once the glue dries a little bit, you can take a little bit of wool and go over that, kind of cover it up a little bit, and then you can bend the tail however you want the tail to be bent around the mouse. So it'll be like this one here. So there we go. I think we're done now. Sorry about that. I'm just trying to get this done and out of the way so I can start working on the next one. So but anyway, there's our little mousey with a straight out tail. But I will, once he's all dry and everything, I will snap a picture and put it up at the end of this video. I gotta retouch up his hand in the ball here. So anyway, thanks for watching. Like I said, join